I am not a financial advisor, and I never give financial advice on this channel. 100% of this content is for entertainment purposes only. Hello everybody, I hope you're all doing well. It's Lane here with MetaShackle. I'm just going to be doing a quick update here to kind of go over things just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Today was an absolutely incredible day. As you know, we broke out of this fair value gap right here at about the 240 level, coming up here, touching the equilibrium line almost exactly. That's what's called precision. We then moved up here into the upper quadrant of the equilibrium zone, consolidating, forming a weak doji right here, marked by this line, as you can see. Price then came back, fell down, formed another weak doji, forming this fair value gap. This fair value gap right here is what's known as a breaker block. It's a smart money concept from ICT, and it's proving to be very strong. If you've seen the post that I've put on my YouTube channel earlier, I mentioned this. It's actually fairly strong as the bodies of the candle have not closed past about that 50% mark. Price then broke downward off of this breaker block, forming these additional bearish fair value gaps. Coming down here, hitting this weak doji right here. This is what I call an echo because it actually transfers through previous lines, yet it still applies. I'll get into that more later. We are now starting to see price rebound, moving up into these fair value gaps. It will be interesting to see if any of these get filled or whether or not they also act as breaker blocks, causing the price to continue to fall downwards. Because as you know, I believe we are going to a lower liquidity pool that is resting well below current price. And the liquidity pool that I'm referring to is this box right here, which starts at roughly that 203.35 level, pushing down to about that 182, 183 level. This is the target I'm looking at right here at this weak doji reverse waterfall line that is at approximately that 192 level. There's a massive amount of liquidity sitting down here, and I honestly don't think that the algorithm is just going to allow it to remain there. There is a trend line right here that we have broken through, have retested down, and are actually trading just slightly below, that has 3 points that I talked about on my Patreon page with my journeyman tier as well as my master tier members. Now thinking about this, just looking at these charts overall, if you pull this chart back and just kind of take a look at it, I've been thinking about this all day long. Now what if this liquidity pool down here that I'm referring to is the key to this entire pattern, is actually the key to the breakout. If you followed this channel for any amount of time, then you know that the XRP breakout chart, which contains a chart pattern within it that I discovered personally, tells us that the breakout was going to begin in the month of May. And I do believe we have already started seeing that process begin, moving into June, July, and potentially even August. But there's something about this liquidity zone down here that I just don't think the algorithm is going to pass on. What if the key to this entire pattern, to continuing this breakout and moving to a new all-time high and into price discovery, is actually down here? At this point, you're probably thinking, what in the world is MetaShackle talking about? Now we're going to go to my standard chart right here. This is also on the daily chart. That same liquidity zone is marked out clearly right here. Now, as you know, we had an inverse head and shoulders pattern right here with a neckline in this area that we broke out of, fell back, retested back in this area of that weak doji, and have since broken out of this pattern to where we are now starting to fall back. But what if the key to continuing this breakout that the XRP breakout chart is telling us was going to start in the month of May, moving into June, July, and August? What if the key to that lies right here in this liquidity zone? And what I mean by that is, what if this inverse head and shoulders pattern we're looking at is actually a fractal of a much larger pattern that has yet to form? Because in order to hit this lower liquidity pool that I've marked out on my charts, what if this little arm right here that a lot of people would look at and assume is the right shoulder of this pattern, what if in fact this is just a distraction, and this moving up into here to this higher point that we just set today is actually the beginning of what will eventually become that right shoulder, moving up into the month of May here? We would have ourselves a situation to where we would have a pullback pulling down into the liquidity range right here, potentially hitting my weak doji, which would form a much larger inverted head and shoulders pattern. I've been thinking of a lot of paths that this could be possible for price to pull back from the equilibrium zone down to this liquidity range, for this to even be possible. Because at this point, it seems very illogical that it's even possible for the price to come down to this level until you look at this pattern. Once you consider the fact that this smaller pattern is just a fractal of this overall larger pattern, thinking about the breaker block that's right here on the 1 hour chart that has rejected price, could it be possible that in forming this larger fractal, it could indeed pull the price down into this liquidity range, taking a draw on liquidity, giving XRP the rocket fuel that it needs to propel itself up, moving into May, into what will become a new all-time high, moving into price discovery into June, July, and possibly August, as I have been talking about for the last 5 months. This seems like it could be the pathway that I've been looking for to see this pattern come to fruition, because as you know, I predicted a flash crash that would begin in the month of April at about mid-April to late April, which was extended into the first week of May, which did not come to fruition. What if that flash crash got pushed back, and instead we are getting close to experiencing that move down into this zone, something that could be similar to this candle that we saw right here. And it might not seem like much looking at it on this chart, but this candle was a drop of 35.6%. If something like that happened, or even gradually moving price down into this area rather than a big wick like that candle presents, that would set the right shoulder moving back up here, which would put the neckline right inside of the equilibrium zone. Meaning that if we could get up above the equilibrium line, which is the green line in the center of the pattern, breaking above this, the equilibrium zone would become support for the move to come. Now that's just something to consider. It's something I wanted to talk about. So keep your eyes on this pattern right here, on this breaker block, on these bearish fair value gaps. You can already see that price is having a hard time with this one, but it's trying. Let's see what happens to these, because I do believe that we are going to get a retest of this main breaker right here. And I also want to mention that I put a lot of extra tidbits on my Patreon page that I do not put on YouTube. YouTube makes it almost impossible to share a chart in a way that doesn't degrade the definition, but on Patreon, I can share charts with everybody that you can download for yourself in high definition. I've also got it set up that you can join absolutely free, but in order to get access to the real juicy nuggets, you will need to become a member. And I believe if you ask anyone from the master tier whether or not they feel as though they're getting their money's worth, that every single one of them would tell you that they absolutely feel like it's a bargain. I don't just put a couple posts on there once in a while. I am posting on my Patreon every day. That doesn't mean that I'm right about everything, but I'm working very hard to do what I do, and I sit in front of these charts literally all day long, which I guess is kind of what happens when you have a back injury. So I just wanted to go over a few of these things. I'll be doing another video sooner than you think. So stay tuned. Please do me a favor and hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. It doesn't cost you anything and it helps the channel. And please do consider joining my Patreon, because together we are going to win. And we are about to see incredible things over the next couple of months. So thank you so much. Have a great day.